You know what's holding most sewists back from creating perfectly fitted clothes? It's not skill and it's not time. It is three common myths about pattern drafting that simply aren't true. And once you understand what's really stopping you, drafting your own patterns won't feel so overwhelming after all. My name is Alexandra. I'm a professional fashion designer, pattern cutter, and creative consultant who teaches this stuff on the daily inside my fashion membership, the DPL Atelier. And today I am debunking the three biggest myths that keep people like yourself dependent on commercial patterns. And I'll be showing you the truth towards making your own patterns surprisingly achievable. So let's jump into it. Now, the first myth is that pattern drafting requires some kind of advanced Einstein genius level mathematical skill. I'm here to tell you that is a load of now, the truth is that pattern cutting is predominantly addition and subtraction and just having a well-rounded understanding of your unique measurements. And I promise you, you're probably already doing it. If you were able to cross-reference the sizing chart on a commercial pattern and have a look at the finished garment measurements, and you can see that your bust, waist, and hip might need an extra 2 inches or 5 centimeters added here and there, then you're already pattern drafting. And that's pattern drafting math. So here's the formula. You take your measurements around your body, you add or you subtract ease and tolerance, which is the space we need to move. If it is a tight fitting top like the one I'm wearing here, that would have negative ease. And you combine that with basic geometric shapes. That is drafting a pattern. Because a basic bodice really is just a rectangle with circles for the neckline and the armholes. We've got diamonds for darts, if that's incorporated in your design. And these shapes are all just based on your measurements. It's not calculus, it's not trigonometry, it's just measuring your body and drawing lines. And I know I'm making it sound extremely basic, and you are probably looking at the screen like, I'm not an idiot, it's a little bit more than that. But I promise you, if you can follow a recipe out there, and don't come for me on this because I'm not the best chef in the kitchen, but if you can follow a recipe that says add 250 milliliters of milk, for argument's sake, then you can draft a pattern because it really is just systemized logic using your measurements. It's the same skill, you're following the instructions and you're using your measurements. And so your action steps right now are to take your body's measurements. We have a free pattern cutting basics mini course that I will link down below. And this is going to walk you through how to take accurate body measurements in relation to fashion design. But you just want to take your bust, waist, and your hip. Your main three would be a win in this occasion. Write them down, and that is the hardest math you'll do. Now, the second myth is believing that you either need to go to fashion school or you need to buy hundreds of pounds worth of expensive equipment. And this really frustrates me because it stops people like yourself from even bothering to start or try. Now, yes, the truth is you do need some equipment, but it could maximum cost you about 30 quid. You're going to need some paper, a pencil that is very sharp, some form of pattern cutting ruler like a pattern master or a curve, and a measuring tape. And obviously some scissors. The list is small, I promise, and some of those things you should have knocking around your house anyway. You don't need a dress form, you don't need pattern making software, and you definitely do not need a degree. 20 years ago, sure, you might have had to go to a university because the information just wasn't available anywhere else. And even back in my day, before I went to university, I found it a struggle to find the answers without seeking formal training. But now, with platforms like the DPL Atelier, like my YouTube channel here, and many other wonderful creators in this space, you can absolutely find that information. Information that has cost people thousands. Again, I'm degree educated and I am passing that on. £9,000 a year a degree is these days. I am passing that on for as little as £18 a month over in the DPL Atelier, or even less if you find some of my YouTube videos useful as well. You can draft a basic block using your measurements and basic geometry. Once you have that basic block, you can turn it into 1,000 endless iterations and elaborate designs to really build out your dream wardrobe. That's what us professional pattern cutters do. We start with a block and we modify it. Now, your action step for this myth is to download my free resource. I'm going to give this away completely for free, which is a pattern cutting tools starter kit. Now, I've broken this down into essential tools, into recommended tools, and into professional upgrade tools. They're all linked for you to have a little look, and you can then make an informed decision in terms of what you'd like to add to your toolkit. But I promise you, it doesn't need to be daunting, it doesn't need to be overwhelming, and you definitely do not need expensive tools or training. Now, the third myth is that you'll never achieve a good fit without professional training, and that somehow commercial patterns will fit you better than your self-drafted ones ever could. And this frustrates me because it really does keep people stuck for the longest amount of time. Now, I need you to know and understand that commercial patterns are designed for the masses. Therefore, as a reality check, they're not going to fit many people either. As we know, human bodies are such a spectrum of beautiful and unique shapes. And so how, when you walk into a ready-to-wear store or your favorite high street fashion chain, and you don't expect the small, medium, and large to fit you like a glove, how on earth can you expect the same to apply to commercial patterns as well? Because they are based on standardized measurements that don't necessarily reflect real bodies either. Now, yes, you're going to have to make a toile or a muslin, whatever you want to refer it to, a sample and prototype garment. You will also have to make fitting amendments. I'm afraid if you are watching this expecting a magic wand, the entire fashion process involves amendments and modifications for us to refine the end result. But you're already going to be leaps and bounds ahead of those using a commercial pattern because you have started with you. The difference is when you create your own patterns, you are going to have a deeper understanding of why you are making amendments because the guesswork has removed itself, because you created the original. You're not guessing, you're problem solving based on knowledge. And here is the secret, the reality of the situation. Every single professional makes toiles, makes fitting amendments, makes adjustments. Even if you draft a bodice block that fits you like a glove, the simple act of making that block in a variety of textiles will throw off the fit. If you have a thicker textile, you will need more seam allowance. You are going to have a textile that doesn't move on the body like something soft would. And so fitting amendments, I promise you, are part of the process. You've not failed, you've not doubted your skills, you've not done something wrong. You're just a designer and a pattern cutter stepping into the process. And so your simple action step for this myth is to just start accepting that fitting amendments are part of the process. And I'm such a firm believer that if you can fall in love with the process, instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, which is the result, the perfect garment, the nirvana of fashion, if you can start falling in love with the process, you'll love the result even more. And this is everything we try and teach here at Digital Pattern Library, is to develop a creative process that is as unique as you are. Now, pattern drafting doesn't always have to be self-drafted, flat drafted, on paper with a ruler and your measurements. Pattern drafting can absolutely also include draping fabric organically on a dress form. And so if that suits your unique creative process more than the addition, subtraction, divisions of 5, whatever you're working on, if it's a neckline or an armhole, you might prefer to sidestep all the maths and pad out a dress form to your measurements or as close as possible and have a much more organic approach with your fabrics, creating patterns on the stand that way. Now, we teach both options inside the DPL Atelier, but I just want you to know that there are options out there. It's not about pigeonholing yourself into one way of doing things. This is why I love fashion so much, because you can absolutely break the mold and invent new processes as long as the result is one that you're after. And so there you have it. Pattern cutting is not reserved for professionals with fancy studio equipment or high-end expensive degrees. It's a learnable skill using basic tools and your own measurements. So why not start with a simple block? A skirt block is the easiest place to begin with because it's simply a tubular bit of fabric with a few darts to shape it around your waist. A bodice block would be the next complex thing, and a trouser block is notoriously the trickiest one to fit and adjust. Now, we walk through all of these inside the atelier, but why not start small? Make up a toile, add your adjustments, start to really understand your unique measurements and proportions, and start to fall in love with your unique figure. And suddenly, you're going to have a pattern that fits you perfectly, not some standardized size that doesn't necessarily exist in real life. We even have asymmetries in our shoulders, our posture. There's so many variables affecting us and our bodies and their relationship with clothing. And so I'll link the free resources down below. Let me know in the comments what garment you would love to create, what garment you would love to design if you had the confidence to start with your own patterns. And of course, subscribe for more tutorials breaking down these myths, reducing the overwhelm, and giving you small but actionable steps towards building your dream wardrobe. For now, stay safe, keep creative, and I will catch you on the flip side.